Hello, Rakul Preet Singh, and welcome to Galattaplus.
Hi, thank
So,
you.
now you've always said you've dreamt of being an actress.
Yeah.
What was it about the profession that said you wanted to do it?
I don't know, I think each one of us, every girl, or actually in India, the way you look at films while growing up, you watch films, you're in awe of the film stars, and the big screen excites you. So I think somewhere deep down, I always wanted to be an actor, but it wasn't like this is all that I dreamt of all my life. I thought I'm going to give it a try. I was possibly a very sensible child who thought that, I'll try it, I'll give myself 2-3 years, but if I don't make it, I will fall back upon my studies. Because I was this one child always who didn't want to do anything half-baked.
Right.
I always wanted to excel at whatever I did and do it to my best ability. And I knew that not coming from the film industry and being an outsider in that sense, it's not necessary that I would have made it or landed my first audition also. It was a complete new world for me to try.
And it's a Kannada film.
That just happened actually.
Okay.
That just happened, but actually it's post that Kannada film, which happened through a phone call. They happened to see my pictures somewhere, which was within 1 month of my portfolio, the first ever portfolio that was shot. And they called my dad and said that we want her to do this film. And we've seen her date of birth and she's going to be a very big star one day. And that's why we want to launch her.
It was destined.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
God.
I was like, really? And at that time, it was in the back of my mind. I didn't think it was going to be so soon. I just shot my pictures to start modeling. So I first refused because I didn't even know how big the South industry was. What was Kannada, Tamil? Like, my ignorance was there because I was a Fauji kid growing up. I mean, at that time in Delhi, you don't really know about regional cinema that much. So I said no. And then I agreed because they said they were going to pay me money in lakhs and my pocket money was 2,000 rupees. So I thought, wow, this is great. I think I should do a film. But it's during that film and the process, and then when I saw the camera and when I saw myself on that monitor, I just realized how much I loved it and I wanted to do it properly. So post that, I took a 2-year break. I finished my studies because I was in first year of college by then. And then I properly moved to Bombay, started auditioning and went for the proper route.
I find it interesting that you didn't drop your studies.
Actually my dad said that you can drop your studies. He offered that to me. He said, if this is what you want to do and you want to move to correspondence, we're happy to help, support you in that. And it was me who said, no, I don't think I want to be a graduate. And I was in Jesus and Mary College doing mathematics honors. So I didn't want to drop that. I said, tomorrow if I don't make it, I will still have my graduation from a good college to fall back upon, and I can always do my masters at any point.
Right.
Like I was telling you, I was always been that child who wanted to excel. I was not okay with being mediocre.
Wait, did you excel in studies as well?
Yes. I was never the 99%, but I was the 91, 92%. Who was an all-rounder.
Yeah,
so I was an all-rounder who would do everything. I would do debates in school. I would do, everything. I was a sports captain. I used to play golf at nationals. I used to do a lot of stuff and I used to score well.
When you're looking at the industry from the outside, it's a different thing. But then when you come inside, you realize that it's like being a fish in a bowl. Your whole life is out there, for people to examine, talk about, criticize, do this, do that. At any point, did you consider thinking that, oh my God, this is such a lot of privacy? Well,
no.
Oh my God, this is such a loss of privacy. Is this like something that...
No, I think I was prepared for it. And also, because I started young, at 18, I was exposed to the modeling world and my first film. And then I was very regularly modeling and proper full-time modeling, even when I didn't act for those 2 years when I took a break and finished my studies. But I think I was exposed to it in such a young age. And at that time, there was nothing private. There was the only goal I had was I need to crack a big film. And of course, at that time, I didn't know I would end up doing Telugu and Tamil cinema. So my goal was I will finish my studies, do Miss India in my final year, then move to Bombay.
My God, this is like a serious plan that you have.
Yeah, I had a full plan that 2 years in my final year of college, I'm going to do Miss India because that's the only thing I knew. From my high school, as a teenager, that's the only thing you knew. Ki Priyanka Chopra did Miss India, she became a big star. Lara Dutta became big star. Aishwarya became big star. You know, so from an outsider's perspective, the only thing you know is, okay, let's do a pageant, and you know, it's fame and it's amazing, and you're Miss India, and you know that
right.
oh,
yeah.
that, and then I'll move to Bombay and I'll audition, and I was so naive, but it helped me because that naiveness brought in the clarity. Ki haan, and I'm not going to do a small film. I'll audition, I'll crack a big film. So it was just as simple. I never complicated my thought, and it was out of actually knowing less. And it's best when you don't know too much.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just totally unaware. So I was like, with that confidence that I'll go, I'll audition, I'll crack a big film. You know, like a child, literally. Like if I tell you how I went for my first few auditions in like sneakers and, you know, golf shorts also sometimes from the golf course I've reached. But that confidence was there.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, if I may, I think that confidence shows through in your performances, especially in your Hindi films.
Thank you.
You know, every time I see you on screen, I see a very, very confident person who is really in control of what she's doing at that particular time.
Thank you.
And that's something that I didn't quite see a lot when you were acting in non-Hindi films.
Right.
Right, and perhaps that had something to do with the language?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I felt it too.
Right.
Honestly, in the first few films that I did in Telugu, I didn't know the language. I had to cram up my lines, and I would, you know, just rattle them out and ask what is the meaning. And also because I was not okay with not knowing the language, I on the go learnt the language, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, so because I was like, no, I also need to crack jokes in Telugu. If I'm a local, I need to be that good that I am a local. So 2 years, 3 years of working, I started speaking more fluent Telugu. So if you've seen Rarandoi Vedika Chuddam and Khaki in Tamil, I think by then I was getting a hang of the language and I started enjoying the process more. I think that's what you mean, you know, because I believe totally that your eyes can tell if you're absolutely at peace or are you trying to think your lines and deliver. So even I've seen that, you know, the change in how I was perceiving my scenes, the latter films, not saying that films may work or not work, but whether it was NGK or Kondapalam or Rarandoi Vedika Chuddam, Khaki, Veeranadikaramundra, these films had roles and I enjoyed them.
You've spent a little more than a decade in the industry now.
Yeah.
Would you say
properly? Let's like I don't consider the Kannada film honestly because it was just happening to me.
But it gave you lakhs.
It did. Yeah, like 5 lakhs.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
At
that age, I bought a car. I was like, for my goal was I'll get a Ritz car. So I got Ritz at that time. I consider Venkatadri Express to be my, honestly, the first film which released 2013. So 2012 I started working. But yeah, about a decade.
About a decade.
Yeah.
Would you say now you completely know your way around the industry?
There is no way around the industry. I at least believe that there is no way. You're constantly hustling. You're constantly wanting more. I'm always in an overdrive mode because I want to do many things. I want to experiment with my roles. I want people to give me that opportunity to play different characters and not be typecast in a certain kind of role, which is why even my past few releases, if there's a Dr. G where there's Dr. Fatima who's talking in very Muslim Hindi, then there's a Runway which is Tanya Albuquerque, which is very different, and then there's a De De Pyar De which is very different. So the endeavor is to sort of keep doing different things because there is actually no way and there is no set format. It's about what clicks and what doesn't and whether the audiences like you or not.
Right.
So you just I just feel that keep working and just keep doing
things.
Good things. Things that excite you at that moment.
Right. Now, so after a whole bunch of South Indian films, when you went into Yariyan,
no, actually, Yariyan was my first film. It released before Venkatadri Express. After Yariyan was the first film I auditioned for. So like I said that I moved to Bombay post Miss India in 2011 and in 3-4 months I signed Yariyan. Yariya shoot finished, and in 3 days I started shooting for Venkatadri Express because I used to.
Released earlier.
But that released 3 months before Yariya did. And because Venkatadri became a sleeper hit, and so by the time Yariya released, I was already signed up for 3-4 films. And you know, in the South, you suddenly like you do multiple projects at a time. So that's how the South ball game began.
Right.
But actually, Yariya was the first film, which happened to be the second release.
That audition was again one of those crazy things that you just did. That you just heard about it, they were looking for people, and you just said, let me just go give it a shot.
I've done many auditions like that. I think my first big audition was Ishaqzade.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was even shortlisted, and I had come from Delhi. That audition I'd given from Delhi. I had not moved to Bombay by then.
So each time you'd come for an audition?
No, just Ishaqzade, because they had their auditioning in Delhi.
Okay.
Then the shortlisted people, then they said, you know, Habib sir really wants to meet you. So I came to Bombay, and my dad came to drop me, bring me to the audition because I was very young. I met him, and then and then that didn't work out. And few months later, I moved my base here, and you do umpteen number of auditions,
Right.
And I think it was in that process. I mean, I used to figure out what's going on in Aramnagar and try to get in, and you know, your struggling days,
right?
The so-called struggling days.
But that's why I said, you know, the way around industry, because once you're a star, people seek you out. But before that, when you're trying to become a star, or at least trying to get roles, that's when I meant, like, how do you find out that यहाँ पे कुछ हो रहा है, वहाँ पे कुछ हो रहा है? How is there like a secret group?
There's no secret group. There are casting directors. I think the first thing is that when I came here, I checked who are the casting directors, who are the big ones.
You are probably the most systematic person I've come across.
But I'm a walking, talking timetable, and sometimes it's hard for people around me. Because I'm not kidding, I have time for breakfast also, that I will finish my breakfast at 9 and I'll do this and I'll be there by 10, and sometimes I feel that it might be like my people around me, my friends say, principal, what time is reporting? You know? So, but it's just the way it is.
No, so please go ahead. It's really nice. Yeah, so the casting directors.
So casting directors, and I figured who were these casting directors, and then I would message them. So Miss India helped me there because they knew that there is this girl who was Miss India People's Choice. So if you're a complete nobody, then they might not see your message also.
Right.
And because I had been modeling for 3-4 years and that pageant, so the name rang a bell. And I was completely shameless in messaging over and over again that I want to come and meet. So I would meet these people and tell them that whenever there's anything, please let me know. So you sort of network with the casting directors, and then whenever there are auditions, they would call you, whether it was for ads or short films or films. And Yariya was one such audition that T-Series had held. They had auditioned apparently more than 500 girls at that point. I auditioned, and after 3 months, I got a call back that they want to meet you again, and that's how it happened. And by then, I used to get a lot of calls from Telugu because that first Kannada film had released. But I kept saying no, and then I happened to say yes to Venkatadri Express. Yeah, and in between the 2 years that I took a break, I've said no to big directors also saying, Arey, you know, I'm doing maths honors. I can't leave my studies, I'll do film later. So I was so naive, like I don't even know if anybody would, like, it was silly, you know, but I didn't know the gravity of what I was saying no to.
No, but you know, you did have a plan. You wanted a backup.
I did.
Yeah. So
and I think somewhere,
about that.
yeah, so. And I think somewhere studies do help you. I think in your overall personality, it's not that calculus helped me, but I think the timetable part of it really did.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to take it the wrong way. You know, there is this tradition in South Indian films where they prefer North Indian heroines. Of course, it's not your fault. It's part of the system. So you're just saying yes to projects that you're being offered. So it's not you at all. But have you asked, like, why don't you take people who actually speak the language?
I actually disagree with that.
Okay.
Because I feel Trisha is a South Indian.
Right.
Samantha, one of the biggest stars, is a South Indian.
But
Anushka,
don't you feel the ratio is a little skewed?
Look at the stars.
Okay.
Samantha, Nayantara, Anushka, Sai Pallavi, Kirti Suresh, Rashmika.
Right.
I think the ratio is higher of the South Indian girls. I think what you mean to say, which I've also heard, is that you not wanting to say this, but you want to be the pretty looking girls, or but I don't think it's about the language. Yeah, I've never faced that. I think all my peers, except for Kajal at that point, Kajal was my senior when I entered. Samantha, Kajal and Tamanna were already a part of the industry,
right,
and they were my seniors, and I was in awe of them. So I think now there's so many South Indian actors who are doing so good, so
right.
well.
Given the fact that you try to excel in everything,
I try.
I'll try. But were you good at, like, did picking up languages just come to you like that?
Or? I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think that goes to, I think I was good at cramming up. I scored 100 on 100 in social science in my 10th boards. So I think the cramming up part, I was a good ratu.
I think I need to take a separate interview about your academic achievements.
No, it's not an achievement, but I was I was shocked when I saw, you know how you type your roll number and you see the results, and I was like, marks nahi likhe, out of likha hai, you know. But yeah, I got 100 on 100, so I think I was good at cramming up. So initially, but then I think I am easy with languages and I grasp them faster, also possibly because I've lived in different parts owing to my army upbringing. Change has been inevitable in my life. You know, I've changed 10 schools. I've been accustomed to different cultures. I've lived in the Northeast for 4 years, whether it's Kashmir also, or whether it's Bangalore, Nasik, you know, we've lived in every part of the country. So you adapt very quickly. And I think that comes to me because that was a normal for me.
Right. So you didn't need the prompting and all that kind of stuff?
No, okay. I didn't like prompting because I thought, I didn't know of prompting obviously, because I was like, lines diye hain, I have to learn these lines. It's when I did NGK with Selva Raghavan sir, he said sometimes if it's a very difficult line, because I speak Telugu fluently, not Tamil as much, so he said you should take prompts. He's the first director who told me, take prompts, don't stress. There's a knack. He taught me the knack of taking prompts.
Tell me that.
But no, he would just say that, you know, if you are thinking, your eyes will show. But if you crack the way prompts need to be taken, then you know you're not stressing about your lines. So then you'll be in the scene. So there's a method to just like listening, and that person who's prompting you needs to be in the same emotion as you delivering the lines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So the person is acting along with you.
Not acting, but imagine if he's telling me, what are you saying? And I have to say, what are you saying? So to hear it, and so he has to be at the same volume.
Right.
And then I can emote it the way I want to. He's not in my eye line, I can only hear him. Yeah. But I still avoid taking prompts because I think it's, my timing is my timing.
Right.
You know. Now I don't take prompts.
Now, I told you about the fact that, you know, one of the things I liked about you was the confidence you exude on screen. How do you rate yourself as an actor?
I don't know. I can't rate myself.
You can't do that, but do you see your films?
Of course I do.
Yeah. Do you do that because your mind is analytical?
Absolutely.
So aren't you able to look at it and say, this could have been better, that could have been better?
Of course, I think you only say that. Whenever you see your own work, you're very, very critical. And you're like, I could have done this better. I could have done this like this. I don't know if people are liking it. You're always, I don't think I'm that person who can appreciate, self-appreciate and say, wah, kya kaam kiya hai? You know, I can't, because I think there's always millions of ways to do a scene. And I could have done it one way, but later when I'm watching the film, I possibly a thought crosses and I could have done it that way. So then you remember it for the next time.
Right.
So I can't judge myself, but all I can say is that one thing I can say is that I'm a complete hard worker and I put my 200%, and I'm an actor, director's actor. You know, I completely surrender. I feel nobody knows the script better than the director does, because they've traveled with the script. So as an actor, it's really wrong if I come with this set of ideas. I can have my ideas, but I can't have preconceived notions of how I think the scene needs to be done, because I am nobody. I have come last on the project. You know, the director has written your character that you're trying to play. So I completely surrender, go like a blank slate, and try to absorb their vision. And yeah.
You know, I was just going to ask you that, because when, like, let's say there is this person that you totally identify with, that the director has written, and you know that the director is telling you to do ABC, but then you know that XYZ is probably closer to the person that that person would actually do. Would you have a discussion?
Yes.
Okay. So you do give your ideas.
Yes, and I think that every actor does, and every director wants actors to. I think
that's you said surrender, so that's
surrender in a way that do listen to their vision.
Right.
But there's always a healthy discussion that happens.
What if I do this way?
What do you think? Do you think my character will react this way? Like for example, let me take the example of Runway. Rakul is not Tanya because she will not crumble under pressure. But Tanya is that character.
Right.
She is that character, and which is why it's defined that she's very happy that she's flown 7,000 hours and he's flown too much. So there are underlining scenes that sort of give you a character's arc. Like she's in awe of a big pilot. Possibly Rakul will not be in awe also. She'll very confidently go and say, I've followed your work. And it's great, and I'm thrilled to work with you. So those nuances, so that's something that the director can tell you, no, but this character, not everyone is strong, yeah? Not everyone is strong. I mean, people crumble, people have fear before exams.
Yeah.
And Tanya is one of those characters. So, which is why a healthy discussion is always important to sort of carve out what your character's boundary is.
Right. And in a way, you've, like even before this whole, term pan-India became prevalent, like earlier, there have been several people who, and like you too, who've been across industries, except that the term did not exist.
Right.
So when the term suddenly turned up, what did you think?
I don't understand the term pan-India. I think India is one. And what is pan-India? India is India. I think we're just different regions that have different sensibilities. And regional cinema, see there's Punjabi cinema, there's Bengali cinema, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil. Today, any cinema is being consumed in every part of the world, not just nationally. And that's owing to the pandemic. People have gotten used to different kind of content. We're watching Korean series, I mean, everywhere. And that's a global phenomena.
Right.
So I just don't understand what is pan-India. I think it's more commercial a term to sort of scale the films up. And say ye pan-India film hai, so that Telugu audiences also come in, Tamil also. I think it's more commercial aspect. Films have always been Indian films. I think every film is an Indian film because I don't think films are about language. Films speak language of emotion.
Right.
Which is why when we watch films from the West, and if you don't understand the language also, you get goosebumps if it's an emotional scene.
Right.
So I think films only speak that one language of emotion, which is not language.
Right. I think how they define pan-India now is that the same film is like being distributed in 4 or 5.
That's why I said it's the commerce.
Yeah.
It's the commerce. So I don't understand that term.
Right.
I feel we're actors.
Yeah.
We should work across all industries if we can. We should pick good subjects, and why not? Because there's a different set of audience there. There's a different set of audience here. It's interesting for us as well. And even for the audiences, it's good to watch everything. And I think I've said this many times that India is the only country which is so rich in its culture, which is so diverse, that imagine if we get the best of each world, South India, North India, East, West, we can make international standard cinema because no other country is as diverse and talented.
Yeah. What do you make of this narrative that's going on now that somehow Bollywood is down in the dumps and every other industry is doing so much better?
I think, I'll be really honest, I think we jump to conclusions too soon, and we love writing headlines and we love to write off. You make one tiny mistake and, arey, she's bad, he's bad, his films are bad, this thing is bad, Bollywood films are not working. And you don't see the effort that goes behind. I'm not saying appreciate a film that is not good, but I'm saying let's put the facts out here. There are 3 or 4 films from the South that have worked nationally. But there are 3 films that release this Friday that people wouldn't know of. There are 3 films that release every week across. There was the day Dr. G released, there were 40 films or 50 films releasing in India that day. We don't know how many films. So we know of those 3 films. So that way even 2-3 films worked here.
Yeah.
But the fact, see, what is narrative? Narrative is something that you say 10 times becomes the narrative. And I feel that because of this whole social media age, one person tweeting one thing becomes, you know, multiplies, and suddenly that's a discussion, and we validate it when we ask it in interviews, and because we answer it.
Like I just did.
Yeah, and I said this in some other interview also where they asked me, I said, but who are these people who are saying this? We validate these questions by asking them, and when we answer or have discussions over it, then it becomes a fact.
Right.
But the fact is, I think, is beyond what is working and not working. I think there's a global phenomena right now that every industry is shaky. Everyone is in testing period of what's really working post the pandemic.
Right.
Now, if we look at films, I feel there are multiple reasons. Possibly, we were lucky that we didn't have to think of our future when the lockdown happened. We were secure enough, but there were millions of people out there who didn't know how they're going to live the next day. So today, when the world is back to normal, are they securing their future, saving up, because they know that the film will come on OTT? So there are too many things. So one is people have gotten used to watching films on OTT. So what are the kind of films they will watch in theaters? Second is the affordability there? Can a middle class family go and spend enormous amount of money in a multiplex? A family of 4 cannot, a middle class cannot. Unka to every week a film is releasing, their salary will go away in watching 4 films. So that's not possible. But in the South, there's a cap on the ticket pricing. So I just feel there are too many factors and we need to talk about other things than film not working, because I feel if the films were not working, then the same films will not work on OTT.
Yeah.
There are so many films which are, for example, Runway. It worked very well on OTT, or Shersha worked on OTT, or so Mimi worked on OTT. These films are also being made.
Lal Singh did very well on OTT.
Lal Singh did very well on OTT. Or then there was this other film, Rajkumar Rao and Bhumi, that part 2, which did very, very well on OTT. Badai Do did very, very well on OTT. Yeah. So it's not that the taste is changing. It's just that maybe the priorities are different. Because on a national cinema day where the rates were 75 rupees, the footfalls were very high for the same film. So yesterday they've not come for the film and today they've come. So maybe we need to chat about that.
Right.
Maybe we need to consider.
Maybe that's the real narrative.
Maybe that's the real narrative that nobody brings about. Maybe entertainment is for everyone. And we're only, you know, I mean, my driver can't afford a multiplex. He says I can only watch film in Gaiety. And how many shows is Gaiety running? So I think that's the narrative we need to bring out, that what is affordability today, what is the spending ability that people have, are there cheaper theatres that families, entertainment, you know, somebody said a very nice thing that in South the governments put a cap because they feel entertainment is for everyone, that rickshaw wala se auto wala, they should also be able to enjoy your entertainment. So there are too many factors which need to be highlighted. I feel. I could be wrong, but this is what I feel.
Right. But now that you've kind of established yourself in Hindi cinema as well, are you finding it difficult to juggle or go back and accept, let's say, plum projects that come up from the South? Or do you make it a point to say, I want to do everything, so I'm going to, for every Hindi movie that I do, I will do something else?
You know, you can never plan that. You can never plan, I will do 2 Hindi films or this thing. So what I want to do is I want to do exciting scripts.
Right.
I want to do films that, it's not about the length, but I'm doing something different.
Right.
It's not similar to my past character. It should excite me after being in the industry for so many years and having worked with everybody in the South. Now I want to do a Telugu film or a Tamil film if it's different for me. There is Indian too and Ayalan in Tamil, and it's not that I won't do or I will do, but whatever excites me, whether it's Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, whatever's a better script, because I think I'm at that phase in my life where I don't want to do just a film with like anymore.
Yeah. Like, was there a phase where the star mattered and now you're over that? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you're never over that. You need a balance. But of course, in the beginning of your career, see, you also evolved, right? You understand what you really like while you're in it.
Right.
When you begin, I want to work with this actor, I want to work with that actor. You want to work with actors because you looked up to them. Eventually, then you're like, okay, great. I also want some meat to the role. And you need both. You need the commercial films and you need meat. So if your commercial films don't have meat, then it's okay. I'm happy to do that Nach Gana also, but at least have some meat to that Nach Gana, some narrative to that Nach Gana. You know what I mean to say. So I think there needs to be a balance of films that you are heading, or films that are commercial, or entertaining, or thrilling.
Right.
But I want to do everything.
Yeah. So if I asked you to rate your top 5 performances, you would not be able to, because you just said you are not a very good judge of your own characters? Or
No, I don't think. I'll ask you that question because you said you've seen all my films. So what would you, let's say top 3.
Okay.
I'll make it easy for you.
I really liked you in Dr. G.
Okay.
Because that was also written in a very different way, and I do believe that if the writing is not good, the performance can only do so much. Absolutely. The performance rests on the writing.
Yeah. You can only do what you're given.
Right. And I would say NGK. That was an interesting role, and you just talked about the length of the role that does not matter, and you were not really the heroine in that movie. In fact, you were, in olden days, you'd be called the vamp.
Right.
You know, so so that shade was interesting, and I thought that you handled that quite well, because even as a character, the way you entered that movie fairly innocently and then became something else, that was interesting. Again, you're talking about the writing.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you know, kind of a thing. So I'm going to stop with that. There'll be more, but you know.
Okay, great.
So
yeah. So, that's good to know.
Yeah. So good that you were interviewing me as well.
Yeah, it's always a chat, right?
You just talked about putting 200% into a film. What if it bombs? I mean, how do you handle it? I mean, you just made that face that happens, but but how do you really process that? Is it that easy to just?
No, it's not. I think it's a lot of mental strength that you need. To be honest, in the beginning, I didn't even know the gravity of film working or not working.
Right.
But I'm a very spiritual person. So you will not believe me, but even when a film doesn't work, I still go and celebrate a release that day, because at least I'm one of those people who's living my dream, and at least God's been kind that I'm on screen, because so many people could be more talented than me, more hardworking than me, I don't know, but are dying to be on screen for a split second, and I have that opportunity. So instead of saying, "Arey, meri film nahi chali," which is not actually in my hand, because that's a lot of factors. Again, it's the direction and the timing of the release and the story and too many things. The actors least involved in whether a film works or not, because you're performing.
Right.
So I still celebrate a release and thank God that I have films and I'm working in the industry that I love to. But yes, there is a slight dejection that happens, that I wish it had worked, because who doesn't like films to work? But then I sort of, I move on from it very quickly. I leave it on that Friday. I don't let it seep into my head and, disturb me, because there's no point.
Right.
I am someone who wants to look forward and look ahead, and sulking over it is not going to give anything. So, chalo ye ho gaya. All right, Rakul, just psych yourself, meditate, keep it aside. What next?
Right.
That's my attitude in life, and that's what I try to really practice, honestly.
Right. There's a very interesting word that you used there. You said, I celebrate every release. What is this celebration?
Celebrate as in, I take my closest group of friends to watch the film on the first day of release. I go myself without anybody around, like with my friends.
Are you the kind who wear a burqa or something like that? No.
Yeah, not burqa. Masks these days.
Oh, right. COVID masks.
Masks. And I honestly think till the time you don't make the noise, people wouldn't even realize you're there if you're wearing a mask. So I go with my friends. I try to just enjoy. I take their feedback. We celebrate. We celebrate as in, we have dinner, we chill, we talk about the film.
Piece of cake.
Whether you liked it, you didn't like it. Chalo, aaj the release well. Let's have some dessert. Basic things, but it just makes you so happy that you have people around you who will give you a real feedback. Like honestly, all my friends loved Dr. G.
Yeah.
They loved it. They thought it was so progressive as a film, and they're also our kind of, audiences, and it's their kind of film, and they really understood the subtle nuances. So I had a full discussion where they picked on nuances that possibly even I didn't notice. So celebrate the film like that.
Right, right. That's lovely, actually. So now earlier there was a definite cap. I would say that heroines came with a shelf life.
Right.
Whereas heroes would just go on and on and on. Do you think that's changing?
I absolutely think that's changing. I think the kind of films that you would do might change, but today Tabu ma'am's doing some great work. Yeah. Shefali Shah's doing some great work. Yeah, yeah. Neena Gupta's doing some great work. So the kind of films and roles you choose and adapt, and that's why it's very important to, I think, be in touch with reality and not be delusional and find your space and keep navigating through that space. So actors who have done that, if you see Akshay sir or Ajay sir, who've been working over generations, they've very smartly moved into films, but I mean they're doing commercial films, but they're also doing a Drishyam or doing a Toilet and more meaningful films.
Right.
So not necessarily just action and dance. So I think you need to, you may not be dancing around the trees, but you can always be an actor and evolve in that say.
There's another thing that used to exist earlier, that somehow people wouldn't mind 50-year-old leading men, 60-year-old leading men doing what you said, which is like dancing, going to Egypt, or like doing these big production numbers. But I think now even the audience has started kind of...
I think because the taste has changed, right?
Yeah. So they're like, act your age.
No, it's not about act your age. It's about also you need to keep reinventing yourself as an actor, because the audiences are so exposed to so much content from the West. They've seen an Al Pacino do the kind of films that Al Pacino is doing. So why would they want to see something that a certain actor has done all his life?
Right.
So I think evolving and growing with time and understanding what's working is an actor's prerogative. We should do it. Like, we should sort of be aware what's working, how do I evolve myself, how do I build from here.
Right.
And that is happening because the audiences otherwise have seen you.
Right.
So if you're doing the same thing, then they've seen you.
Right. I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. Give me a hypothetical role that you might be playing 15 years from now.
15 years from now.
10, 15, whatever. Like.
Yeah, I could always play a biopic of some great leader. I could always play something what Tabu ma'am did in Andhadhun,
Yeah.
I think I could play Grey even now. I mean, I don't really care about that, but I think the writing is evolving. Yeah, I can't really slot it and say I would do this, but I'm saying today, Julia Roberts, there was this film that released, Ticket to Paradise. It's a great film. It's a concept of an older couple.
Yeah.
So I just feel
still a love story.
It's still a love story of an older couple. So it's so beautiful that the writing is evolving, and that's globally.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to be in your 20s to sort of be the leading lady.
Yeah.
You're an actor.
Yeah.
I think the word heroine is sort of moving aside and actors coming in.
Right. So do you think like the older system of when the heroine system existed, just to use that word, or the hero system existed, there would always be these rankings and all these things about...
I don't believe in rankings. Who ranks? Yeah, we are only ranking and we are feeding it to the people, and the people. I think it's a Friday box office.
Rankings are also based on the box office. Yeah, that's what I said.
So it's box office dependent. Today, people will write off the biggest star if 2 films don't work.
Right.
So that doesn't take away from their 30 years of worth and the kind of contribution they've done to cinema.
Right.
So I don't believe in I'm a person who believes that there's only, you should not think about the noise outside. Right. I think you should sort of cut it out of your system.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I just do that. I try to do that.
You are on Instagram.
I am on Instagram, but I don't have to read every comment.
Oh, right. Okay. So
I can just
do a posting.
This is my world. Hey, happy to show you my world. But I don't want to get into what your state of mind is.
Are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter.
Okay.
And there was a point that I really wanted to move out, because I just felt that it's too much negativity, because on Instagram things don't pop on your feed, on Twitter things pop on your feed, but then I just decided to ignore. I think I just treat my life as I'm an actor. This is my profession. I do this as a profession. And then I'm a girl, Rakul, who has a normal life. I lead a normal life. And I want to cut out that noise of what is the number, what is my box office number, who's leading. Life's too short to complicate. We complicated ourselves. Yeah. I just look at it as I'm living my dream, I'm living my passion, and I'm blessed that so many people love me. And that's it. And I'm going to give my 100% to keep working. Yeah. And that's it. My life is that. And then once I pack up, I want to come back to my family and friends and chill.
At the end, I'm just going to ask you a very unfair question. On the one hand, I have for you a really, really intriguing script. On the other hand, I have for you a very, very high profile project. Which would you pick?
Like you're saying big star and big high. I'd pick the high profile.
You would?
Yeah. You know why? Because once you pick the high profile, you have the ability to get scripts.
Right.
You can navigate scripts. You get that power. You get that access. But if you only keep doing scripts and you don't have a little bit of mix and match of the popular films and the big films that give you the following or the stardom, then you will be limited.
Right.
So I think in a longer run, it is very, very important to have the big tentpole films because that's the reach.
Right.
And if you want, once you get that reach, then people will watch your content when you do this.
Right.
But if people don't come to watch this, what's the point?
So thank you for, frankly, one of the most sensible interviews.
Oh, really? I'm glad. Whew, all the pressure thrown out of the window.
There's no pressure because it was like, there was this
chatting.
Absolutely systematic way you went about each question. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, you know, this is, you really, I think the mathematics helped. I
think the mathematics did help. I've never used that maths. I always joke that I only count my calories. But yeah, I think that helped.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Experience 10 days of Grand Europe trip for easy EMI of ₹25,000 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Wonder Diamonds, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand, stores at Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore and Hyderabad.